everyone, my name is Monday. Welcome to the bathroom. I am sitting in a bathtub right now because that's a thing normal people do. And I have the Council of Frogs here in the background to judge me on my storytelling schwazza. So, this is the first story time, so I figured I'd start y'all off with a fun one and talk about my first experience with the green, with the Mary Jane, with the pot. I smoked marijuana. I didn't actually smoke it for my first time having marijuana. I ate it. I had an edible. A couple edibles. Somewhere my uncle is laughing watching this video. So the first time that I tried marijuana was eating edibles with my uncle at his apartment. And he had like a tub of oil underneath the kitchen sink that he'd keep for like if he wanted to make something and all of that jazz, because he's very pro marijuana. And I just want to make sure for them feds watching that this took place in Oregon well within the time period of when recreational marijuana was allowed. So we was legal. Please don't arrest me. Yeah. So anyway, my uncle and I earlier that day, we decided that we wanted to make some cookies. And I was like, hey, I'm a teenager. Let's make pot cookies, 'cause we can. And he was like, sure. So we made pot cookies. We ended up making, I believe, roughly a little under 24 marijuana cookies. And we put a lot of oil in these cookies, so them gonna fuck you up. I didn't really know that much, but he ended up eating a couple, and I was kind of nervous about eating them at first because I didn't have a lot of experience with this. I didn't have a lot of experience with edibles especially, and I was like, I don't know, man, this seems bad, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I make bad decisions. I make them so you don't have to. So I had a bit of a migraine coming on, and I was sitting and I was playing a game. I believe I was playing Link to the Past in the living room. And my uncle was behind me on the couch, and I was like, hey, do the edibles help with like pain? Because I know that marijuana has uses for helping with pain relief. And he said, yeah, go ahead, eat 2, and then wait a while and they'll kick in. And I was like, all right, I gotcha, I'll do that. And I went and I got the box and I ate 2 of them. Now, my mistake that I will admit I made, I did not put the tub of cookies away. I put the tub next to me, and then I continued playing my game. My uncle's mistake was sitting on the couch behind me, watching this unfold, going, no, this Alessa, she needs to learn, she'll stop, and watching me eat 14 more cookies within the course of, I believe, 2-ish hours. I didn't know that they creeped up on you. I was like, okay, so I'm gonna eat this and it's gonna make me high. That's cool. It'll help get rid of my headache. That's even cooler. I didn't know they creeped up on you. So I ate my 2 cookies and I played my game. And then I got kind of high. And then I got the munchies. And then I was like, hey, look, cookies. And I ate more cookies. And then I played my game. And I got super high. And I got the munchies. And I was like, hey, look, cookies. I don't remember a lot of what happened in the rest of the night. I remember my aunt going to get Taco Bell, and I went with her. I remember kind of being in the car, and I remember being home, and somebody, I don't know who it was, handed me a soft taco from Taco Bell. And I took 1 bite, and then I fell over. And I know for a fact I just kind of and fell over, but for me, the whole world went and it took me like 30 minutes in my head to actually make contact with the ground. And then I was out. I was just out. So they didn't really move me. They just kind of left me on the floor like, hey, she's super high, we'll leave her there. And they just kind of tossed a blanket over me, I think, and then watched a movie. I have epilepsy. They watched a movie with them bright flashy lights because they thought I was asleep. I mean, I thought I was dead. They thought I was asleep. I woke up and I started having a lot of anxiety because I couldn't move. The world was too slow for me. I tried to formulate a thought in my head and it couldn't come through. Like, I knew kind of that I needed to say something. I needed to be like, hey, turn off the movie. Hey, I'm not okay. And I couldn't say anything. I couldn't even think anything. I'd try to think, and my words in my head would be way too slow. So I started panicking, and the only thing that I could grasp onto was that I was afraid. That I didn't know what was happening, I was afraid. And then the lights started flashing on the TV, and I had a seizure. I had a grand mal seizure. And to this day, that is the single scariest time I have ever had a seizure, because normally for me, when I have a seizure, it happens. It just happens, but I am coherent in what's going on. I know that I'm on the floor. I know that I'm shaking. If my head's hitting something, I know that my head's hitting something. I can feel the pain. And usually it lasts roughly 4 to 6 minutes. It's not drastic enough normally to have to go see a healthcare professional. But this was taking forever. My brain had everything going in 10 times slow motion, so this felt like I was seizing forever. And I couldn't make it stop. I couldn't say anything. All I could do was try to yell. And so I did. And I don't know how long it took me to actually make noise. I remember kind of hearing somebody say like, hey, she's awake. And then the light stopped. And I know I screamed. I don't know how long it was. I don't know how long it took for me to scream after they noticed that, hey, she's not fucking okay. But I remember yelling, and I couldn't stop yelling. Once I started, and I had their attention, and my uncle actually gathered me up, and he put me in his lap, and he was trying to get me to come too, I couldn't stop yelling. Like, once I started, I couldn't stop. I couldn't start for a while, and then it wouldn't end. And I kind of remember, I think my little cousin came out into the living room, and I feel really bad that she had to see me like that, but I know they called 911 because I kind of remember people yelling at me like, hey, you need to come to, you need to calm down, are you here, are you okay? And I started seizing, and I don't remember much of what was happening while I was seizing. I could remember my uncle's hand on my arm as he held me, and thinking it was kind of warm, but not really being able to formulate that thought in its entirety, like as words. And the entire time I started seizing, and the thing is when I started seizing, my body started moving. And as I started moving, things kind of sped back up to normal. It was like, now that I was no longer sedentary, I could kind of think, I could kind of feel. And the only thing I could think while I had the capability to do so is, I want to go back to sleep. I want to go back to sleep. I want this to be done. Just let it be over. Just, God, please knock me out. Somebody hit me with a brick. And after a while, I stopped seizing. And when I stopped seizing, I remember I don't think I cried. I think I just started like making dying cow noises. But they called 911, and I remember 911 getting there, and I could kind of think and I could kind of talk, but I know I was slurring my words. And I remember them doing that stupid press thing that they do on your chest to try to get you to respond to pain, where they just take their knuckles and like grind it into you. I didn't respond to it. I was trying to talk. I was clearly still alive, and I'm trying to communicate, but I couldn't respond to the pain because I couldn't move my body. So they got me up, and they got me on a stretcher, and they put me in the back of the ambulance, and I started kind of coming to a little bit more, and I was able to really slowly answer the guy's questions. And after a while, he's like, all right, is there anything else that you need? Because we have all our info. And I was like, don't let me go back to sleep. If you let me go back to sleep, I'm terrified I'm not going to wake up again. Like, this is the scariest shit. And he just kind of laughed, and he was like, you're okay. You're pretty high. You took a little bit too much, and we're going to get you to the hospital. We're going to get you pumped out of your system, and you're going to be fine. We're going to make sure that no damage happened from your seizure, and you'll be cool. So I remember most of that ride. I remember kind of getting out of the ambulance, like they wheeled me in on the big cart thing. And then the only thing I remember after that was one moment in the hospital. I kind of woke up a little, and there were a bunch of people in the room. I didn't have my glasses on, so I couldn't really see everybody that was there, but I think it was like my uncle and my aunt were on the side, and like a couple doctors. It might have just been my uncle. But I sat up, and I projectile vomited across 3 doctors, and then I passed out again. And then I kind of flicked to a little bit later, and they were rolling me onto my side so they could pull off all the gross stuff underneath me, because I just exorcised vile everywhere. And I remember the guy behind me going, "How many did she eat?" And the other guy on the other side of me that was helping roll me was like, "Dude, it was like 14. This chick is nuts." And then I passed out again. And when I woke up, it was the middle of the night, and I felt yucky. I didn't really feel high anymore, but I felt very, very groggy and very like ew, like how I usually feel after I have a seizure. And I woke up, and a doctor came back in the room, and my uncle woke up, and he was like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "We're just here to check on her." And I was like, "The fucking kill me." And they were like, "Oh, you're awake. Cool. So this is what happened." And they were trying to talk to me, and it wasn't processing. And I think my uncle could tell that nothing was really coming in. So he just kind of started taking over for me and being like, "All right, just talk to me. I'll tell her when she wakes up." And they talked for a while. He got handed like a packet of paperwork. I think it was like discharge or something. And they got me out, and they took me home, and I don't remember the ride home, but I remember waking up like a day later on the living room couch and drinking a cup of water and going pee and then going back to sleep for like another half a day. And when I woke up, everything seemed fine. I'd recovered from my seizure, I wasn't high anymore, and I had an extreme distrust of edibles from then on. Nowadays, I'll still see one and I'll be like, "Take that ratchet shit out of here." The greatest part of this, the whole moral of the story, is that I went back to that hospital because I was sick a few months later, and I walked into the ER, and one of the guys behind the desk looked at me and went, "It's the pot girl." So don't take too many edibles, people, because you will be known as the pot chick or the pot dude at your local hospital for fucking ever. So that was my first experience with marijuana, especially in its edible form. It was terrible, it was great, it was a wild ride, and it was awful while it was happening, but honestly, it's something that I look back on now and I can kind of laugh at how inexperienced I was, how the people around me didn't really make good choices, I really didn't make good choices, and I'm just really grateful that it all worked out in the end. If I use that now, I'm like, people are like, "You want a cookie?" And I'm like, "I would take a crumb, thank you. Check back with me in 6 hours." So that has been story time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I believe the Council of Frogs approves, I'm not sure. But yeah, that was the thing. That absolutely happened to me. It happened with the uncle that used to be on this channel, actually. He's the one that was playing Spook with me for Necrosaria and such, the horror games. Make good choices. Don't do what I do. Take this, use it as an example in your life, and don't do the things that I do, because I'm lucky I lived. I will see you guys all in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this story time. Make sure to leave a like below if you liked the story and if you want to hear more. Get used to more of this shit, because you're going to be seeing me in the bathtub with my existential frogs for quite a while now. Peace out, lovelies.